sometimes the words coming out of my mouth, I'm like, it sounds so weird. Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about the reverse mountain arc in the One Piece journey. This is chapters, 101 to 105, and I am really excited to discuss it with you today. Now, if you are new to my channel, hi, welcome. My name is Shelly, and I really love books and reading. And right now I am very closely documenting my journey of One Piece and my thoughts about it. So this is just yet another step in this journey. I have a whole playlist of all of the videos I've done thus far of my journey of One Piece, and so I can leave that link down for you, linked in the description box for you down below. That's what I was trying to say. So you can catch all of that. I think I have linked, all of the individual videos too, in case you missed one or wanted to go back to one. Those are there for you. And if you like the video, I would encourage you to subscribe and stick around. Without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. I guess this is pre-meat of the video. I will say that I started a Patreon account in order to support the channel. I gave a full detailed description about my thoughts about Patreon, and ultimately I think it boils down to the fact that I really appreciate all of you for being here. Whether or not you subscribe, whether or not you like the video, whether or not you decide to support me on Patreon, you being here is enough. And that's really important for me to tell you. And if you are looking for other ways to support all that I've mentioned, liking, subscribing, commenting, that's all incredibly supportive to me. But it doesn't take away the fact that you being here is enough. And if you also wanted to financially support the channel, I have a Patreon for that. So let's get into this reverse mountain arc. So they have to enter the Grand Line and they have to go up a mountain, and it is some world building. I really need to go back. I've looked at some of the chapters in color. Actually, you all have been very encouraging and kind to say, hey, you should check out some of the colored versions of One Piece. So I have been looking that up. I prefer to read the story arcs. I prefer to read the manga on the Shonen Jump app. And that is like the best way for me to access and read it, just because it's the navigation of it all and the way that it's laid out and all of that is the best and the most ease of use and the best for me. However, I have taken it upon myself, especially if I want to see something colorized, I have taken it upon myself to look up that chapter in color and then scroll to the pages that I want to see colorized. And it really does, as you all have told me, it really does bring it to life. The whole story, it brings some of the images to life that maybe were a little bit fuzzy. And it's really just added a whole new layer of enjoyment for this reading experience. However, I still weirdly like to read it in black and white. I don't know why that is, I just do. So I really need to go back and look at chapter 101 in color, because we're getting a lot of world building and we're going up this reverse mountain. We get to this calm area, and I don't know, I think one of the moments that surprised me the most in this reading of this arc were all of the creatures. There's just this double page spread, which by the way, I don't think I've mentioned it yet. But I really love the double page spreads in One Piece, because sometimes it's the chapter cover and you get all of the characters doing a whole bunch of different things and it all really sings. And credit where credit's due, Oda is fantastic at those. When he does a double page spread and it's an introduction to a new it's the chapter art, or it's at the very beginning of the story, it's so cool. It's so cool. Sometimes it's like Zoro's sharpening his sword and Luffy's doing something silly and Nami's like eating an orange or a tangerine. It's kind of like got all this stuff going on, and it's just really fun to look at. And I think it really speaks to me as a reader because I like to see all of my characters in one place at one time. And that's a way to do that. You know, we're not just focusing on one person. It's like everyone is doing something interesting and we're seeing it all in like the same, they're all in the same space. They're all in the same span of 2 pages. And they're all kind of like occupying the same world or occupying the same area. It really speaks to me as a reader. So we get this double page spread and it is all of these enormous creatures. And I really thought it was fantastic in terms of world building because you see scale. You see just how minuscule and tiny. Y'all have like very much related One Piece to, well, you've related it actually to a lot of things, but you've related it especially to Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, which I do love the Lord of the Rings. I really need to go back and reread it as an experience. And so many of you were like, great, you are out of the Shire now. After you've read the first 100 pages, you're done with the Shire and you've moved on. And you know, just so y'all know, like the Shire moments in the Lord of the Rings is awesome. Like that, the Shire moments are awesome, rather. They're fantastic. And I really think it's a great way to say, hey, this is like the world that the hobbits occupy, but we're going somewhere far bigger, far better, far more amazing and mind-blowing and far more epic than this beautiful Shire that the hobbits spend their time in. And in a lot of ways, I feel like Oda is already starting to hint at that because as we're going up the reverse mountain, we're at this like calm part and there's these creatures are fantastically enormous and you just see how small Luffy is and his ship, the merry-go, like you see it all and you're like, wow, okay, so maybe, I don't know, but you know, this is just me, you know, hypothesizing maybe that we're gonna see the world just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So they're starting to get into the Grand Line and kind of, I don't know if it's immediately, let me look at my notes. So it was described that there's like the calm belt, the Grand Line, that the East Blue and all of the seas like go towards the center and then they collide at the center, and then the way that the waters like escape or exit is through the Grand Line. I can see it in my head. I'm probably doing an awful job describing this, but basically they have this journey in which they are going up the reverse mountain and then they end up what we think is like at the entrance of the Grand Line, and very immediately we see this whale with all of its damage on its nose and on its face, and the whale is enormous. So again, there's this delight with scale. I really love scale, like the way, like, I don't know, I just really like miniature things, and I like when things are enormous, and I like the way that Oda is adding a sense of whimsy with scale. So you get, they see this creature, and the creature swallows the merry-go with only one person who doesn't get swallowed, and that is Luffy. And immediately that really reminded me of course, the biblical story of Jonah and the whale. In this sense, it's not quite the same, but just anything being swallowed by a whale, it really reminds me of Jonah and the whale. Or it reminds me of Pinocchio, because at one point I think, don't they get swallowed? It's been a very long time since I watched Disney's Pinocchio, but I believe that Pinocchio and his crew members, or his conscience, you know, the little grasshopper, get swallowed by a whale. So it really reminded me of that. And then all of a sudden, so Luffy's on the outside, the crew members are on the inside, and Luffy discovers this like hatch or this door on the outside of the whale. And there's a lot of mystery because there was a moment where I was like, is the whale real or is the whale mechanical? Like, is it an actual whale or is this like a machine that somebody built and they're just trying to, like, I don't know, protect the Grand Line, or they're living in this enormous like automaton whale? I didn't really know. So there's a lot of mystery surrounding this whale. And so Luffy goes in and there's like these passageways and tunnels and scaffolding, and not scaffolding, but these passageways and tunnels. And he's like, what's all this stuff doing on the inside of the whale? And so he can walk through the whale. So it was just really fantastical and a really cool moment to see, because I, as the reader, didn't know what was going on. And so I was figuring things out with Luffy. But then even my own self, I was like, I think I had even more questions than Luffy did, because I'm like, is the whale real? Is the whale not real? Because I mean, Luffy himself in this world of One Piece, if we're gonna like put ourselves in that world, like he can feel and touch and see the whale and can see if it's mechanical or not, but I cannot, I can be tricked as like the reader. So, the crew members are swallowed and they meet someone. I'm trying to find if I can get their name right and I find him. I'm going to call him the old man so I can move on. So Luffy's crew, they see a man on an island, and even me as the reader, I was like, okay, so did he build this whale and now he's living on the inside for like protection? I didn't really know the full story. So of course we meet this old man and he's got his island made out of metal because apparently, there's like we're in the stomach of the whale and there's like stomach acid. And so things can disintegrate. And so his island is made out of metal so that he can live like without being disintegrated by the stomach acid of the whale. Sometimes the words coming out of my mouth, I'm like, it sounds so weird. Like I'm talking about whale stomach acid, and we're not in a biology class. So we see him and we actually don't know if he is a good guy or a bad guy. Like, is he like using the whale? Is he like taking advantage of the whale and like living in the whale and like tormenting the whale and like building all of this, all these passageways and stuff with the whale? And so we also realize that the whale, Laboon, is ramming his head into the red line, and we don't really know what's going on there. Similarly, we also meet two characters that I had to see in color, Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday. Oh my gosh, these character designs are like fantastic, amazing, cuckoo's bananas, awesome, and off the rails, because I was just like, I saw them and I was like, oh my gosh, I love them so much. So we meet Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, and they have just these amazing costumes. Like, she's got this like swirly shirt on, and he's got a crown and markings on his face. And I mean, I just loved these characters. Weirdly, the first thing I thought of was the king and queen in the movie Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. If I can remember to put a photo in of that, I will like flash that in. I might be totally wrong, but I was like, they look like the king. Well, he doesn't. She reminded me for whatever reason of like the queen in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, who's not good. And we actually don't know if they're evil or not evil at first. And so because Mr. Nine says, this is all for the whale. And so you're like, are they saving the whale from the old man? I don't really know. And they have weapons. And so you're kind of like in this sense of like, there's this tension that's based off this uncertainty and this playing of the line of like, who's actually evil and who's good. Okay, I believe this is how it goes, but it is revealed that Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine are there to kill the whale, because if they kill the whale will provide meat for the village, food for the village for a couple of years, like 2 to 3 years, and that the old man is actually protecting the whale. So that is revealed. So we're like, okay, we have some ideas as to like who's good and who's bad. So the old man, he talks about the backstory of the whale. That the whale followed, when the whale was very young, it followed a crew of pirates to the Grand Line, and the crew of pirates ended up leaving the whale, and the whale has been waiting for 50 years for the pirates to come back, and that this old man who's a doctor, is actually keeping Laboon company. during all of this, and that the markings on the whale's face, the injuries on the whale's nose, is because it, in sadness and in grief and in wanting the pirates to come back, it bumps its nose against the side, like the side of the line, or the side of the land, and it like bangs its nose against the mountain, and it is like in grief and in mourning that this poor whale, is essentially rejected, and is at sea, quite literally, but also metaphorically is at sea, because, he doesn't have his friends anymore, and the pirates just left him, and he's been waiting all of this time for the pirates to come back. And so then, it's like, oh my gosh, that's just terrible. So my heart really went out to Laboon, really, just like, the poor whale, come now. And so then Luffy gets this wonderful idea to basically start up a fight with our precious whale, and they end up having a small battle. Even the whale like crushes Luffy against the land, but because of Luffy's gum fruit, nothing happens. He just, gets smashed, but he's not injured or anything in any way. And then he's like, haha, like, we'll fight again. I promise. Like, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to fight you again. And it really gives the whale something to live for. And I thought that was wonderful. Like, it was just a delightful thing. It's kind of like, I guess it's kind of like, we're being in competition, or like having somebody there to, even if it's somebody that you bicker with, or fight with, not like, fight in, I guess, in like a lighthearted, maybe like a rascal wrestling kind of way, that, that there is some delight in that, you kind of like, when you're a kid and you like elbow somebody, you're like, stop, like, there is like a joy in that, and that's what it reminded me of, the joy of having someone to bicker with. Oh, I never thought I would say that. And then it was like, he says it's a draw. It's a draw. So the fighting of the whale, they end up at a draw. Like, Luffy doesn't win, the whale doesn't win. He's like, I'm going to come back and we're going to fight again. And in a lot of ways, I think it helps the whale get over his own grief and sadness. And that he doesn't have to wait anymore for these pirates, that he's got someone to fight with. And that gives him something to live for, which is, a beautiful sentiment. Isn't that not a beautiful sentiment? Oh, and he also, Luffy draws on the whale's, like, nose. He gives him, like, a pirate symbol on the whale's nose, and he was like, no, don't go ramming into stuff and erasing it before I come back. So again, it's like giving the whale a sense of purpose and life. Isn't that not? I just love that. That is beautiful. That's just giving me a huge smile on my face. And then we kind of get like the sort of like setup for our next arc, because they don't use compasses in the Grand Line. Like, things are all higgly-piggly and wackadoodle all over the place. And so they actually need something else. They need a log pose, and there's an island before the Grand Line. See, again, it's like we're getting world building set up, introductions to like where we're headed in the story. And it's Raftel, and it's the last island of the Grand Line. And in history, only one group of pirates is known to have landed there for sure. The crew of the Pirate King. And so Raftel is the stuff of legend, and they're like, oh, maybe One Piece is on that island, everyone's all excited and getting thrilled. We also realized that Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine, they're working for somebody, and we don't know who that is. So again, we're getting that hint to like the big bad to come, like who's coming, who's around the corner. We don't really know. They want a ride back to Whiskey Peak, which I think is the name of the next arc. They said that's the name of our town. They lost the ship and they want to get a ride back to their town. And so then they all get in the merry-go, and they're giving I think the two people, are like, I think low-level crime people, Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine. They're giving them a ride back to their town. And they say goodbye to the whale. And then the old man says, could that bunch be the pirates we've been waiting for all this time? That boy has a strange air about him, Roger? So I'm like, is he talking to Gold Roger? In his mind or in real life? Did Gold Roger maybe not actually die? What is happening? I don't know. It's okay. Don't spoil it. I'll figure it out. But I'm like, what a great setup for our next arc. So very exciting. Lots of new characters, lots of really great character designs. Again, I'm just so enamored with like Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine. Mr. Nine is like, God, I don't know. Everything about it is like amazing. He's got like David Bowie in Labyrinth vibes. David Bowie in the movie Labyrinth. Those vibes. Okay, I'm gonna go because that is enough for me. Tell me your thoughts. Let me know how it's all going with these reviews or with your own One Piece journey. I would love to hear. And I am gonna, just thank you so much for spending this time with me. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye!